Hello, this is Edna White. I am so glad you're with me today. Today, I want to talk about why we fail. I know we don't like to talk about that word, why, fail, not why, but we don't like the word fail. But it's so important to understand that sometimes failing is really good for you if you learn the lesson. So, I'm just putting that in your head today so that you could get started on understanding why we fail. There are two types of failure. There's type A, you try, you fail, you learn from it. You try again. Now, this isn't really failure, this is learning and growing. Type B is you try, you fail, you don't learn from it, or you learn the wrong lessons, or you don't get up and try again. This is failure, trying to make the unworkable work. The hard part is when you're in the thick of it with the muddy boots and you're all scratched up and your face is all dirty and your clothes are torn, it can be hard to tell if you're learning or failing. So here's some observations from my own experience, both learning and failing, to help you do more of the former and less of the latter, more of type A and less of type B. When you pride yourself based on who you associate with, you're failing. When your pride flows from the inner knowing that you're doing what you should do when you should do it, you're growing. When you're trying to automate a process, a sales process, if you may, you can't do manually or one on one, you're failing. When you struggle to convert prospects again and again, but each time you reflect and try something new, you're learning. When you're trying to be the person other people expect you to be, you're probably failing. When you're slowing down and figuring out what you really want first, you're growing. When you're looking for the right way to succeed, you're probably failing. When you're studying the principles to understand why things work, when they do and when they don't, you're learning. When you read, listen, and apply what you've learned from each one of your teachers before going to another, you're growing. When you're worried that you're inadequate in some important ways, you're probably failing. When you know that the mind game is to see how far you've come and not how far you still need to go, then you're learning. When you compare yourself to someone else who's been in the game much longer than you, you're failing. Again, when you compare yourself to where you've been yesterday, you're growing. When you expect it should be easy, when you seek ease over excellence, comfort over mastery, you're failing. When you expect to be challenged, to be chewed up and spit out a few times before you conquer that next hill, you're learning. When you're trying to make big leaps, you're probably failing. When you're putting one foot in front of the other, setting targets you believe are achievable and pursuing them relentlessly, you're growing. When you're trying to do it all yourself, you're probably failing. When you surround yourself with people who are on the same path as you and you learn from each other and hold each other to a higher standard, you're growing. When you believe the talking heads on TV, you're probably failing. When you ignore them and believe those who have done what you've been doing, you're learning. When you avoid conversations that make you uncomfortable, you're probably failing. When you take a deep breath and confront people with respect, you're growing. When you think the problem is your other half or someone else, you're failing. When you realize you're probably guilty of the same and more, you're learning. When you take full responsibility for things you cannot control, you're probably failing. When you take full responsibility for the things you can control, you're growing. When you're trying to sell people you don't deeply understand and don't honestly care about, you are failing. When you care so much that you can't help but deeply, passionately be interested in the people you're selling to, you're learning. When you fear man and forget God, you're failing. When you remember that you are here to serve God by helping your fellow man, you're growing. When you hold others to a higher standard than you hold yourself, you're failing. When you hold yourself to a higher standard than you hold others, you're learning. When you think that selling is something you do to others and that your job is to get them to buy, you're probably failing. When you understand that sales is nothing but leadership, you're growing. When you're busy, 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 and not making time to think deeply about what you really, really want, you're failing. When you regularly make time to reflect, to think, to ponder, to question, you're learning. I've made all the mistakes and more. And the greatest gift to become aware of them is that we learn the lessons and keep moving. And I know that this is helpful to you because when I was putting it together, I said, I know that people can relate to this. Just know that you can be type A or you can be a type B. Talk to you later.